We are back at it again, and as always, I've got my coffee. But before we're gonna start, I wanna say thank you so much and huge shout out for those supporting the channel lately, especially the Lightroom editing tutorials. We're almost at 20K, which I'm really grateful for, so thank you every single one for supporting this channel. In today's video, I'm gonna show you a few simple tools to bring this overall image together. And as always, you can download the image, first link in the description, so you can follow along step by step, or make yourself comfortable, make yourself a tea or a coffee and watch me edit this image. So let's get straight into it. All right, this is this image here, and I'm gonna press I on my Mac as always to show you the information. It's shot on my DJI Mini 3 and here are all the infos. I'm gonna close it with clicking on I again, and I'm gonna close this taskbar and this one here to have a bit more room. Before I'm gonna start editing and dialing in the exposure, of course, I'm gonna crop it. So I'm gonna click on the crop tool here. I know I could have composed it a bit better. It's not that centric. The road is up here almost cut off. I didn't have that much time and it was really far away and windy. So the conditions wasn't as good, but we made it happen either way. So I'm gonna crop it 4:5 and I'm gonna leave a bit at the bottom here because I wanna create a bit depth here. Since we are on top of a hill, let's say, I can work with that environment. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna leave it here and okay, cropped it. And now I'm gonna go into my basic tab here and I'm gonna start with the temp and tint. It's winter, there is lots of snow, so that means I can go with a bit of a blue look. In that case, I'm gonna bring that temp towards blue a little bit, and I can see a hint of purple tint. The dopest MC around here, I know I'm gonna say it in every image here. I can see a bit of a purple tint here, so I'm gonna go a bit more towards green. And all of a sudden, before and after, it's a bit more greenish blue, the perfect color that I can work off of. For the exposure, I'm gonna leave it, contrast as well. I'm gonna down with the highlights because as I'm zooming in here, let's go with 100 zoom. It's not overexposed, you can see it in the histogram here, but I'm gonna dial it back to have a bit more details. So if I'm gonna go before and after, as you can see, we pulled out a bit more details here, and I'm gonna up the shadows a bit more, up the whites a bit, and now I'm gonna zoom out and I want a bit more contrast, so I'm gonna go with the blacks, let's say -2. I'm just gonna work with those sliders here, before and after. It's a bit faded, so we can work with the contrast, but I'm not gonna use the contrast slider here. We're gonna go into the tone curve. I'm gonna create a point here, here, and here. The blacks live here, the shadows, the midtones, the highlights, and the whites. And for the blacks, I'm gonna make them a little bit faded, and I'm gonna down the shadows here to have a bit more contrast. Not too much, we can always get back to it. The midtones, I'm gonna pull them a bit up, highlights as well, and I'm gonna pull down the overall whites here. Okay, only the tone curve, before and after. This was only the basic adjustment, the temperature and the crop, and this is the tone curve. So we have a bit of a contrast going on. And to have it a bit more of a snowy kind of blue, I mean snow is white, but we can go into the color mixer here, into the saturation, and I'm gonna dial down the blues. As you can see, if I'm gonna go like -100 and then go back to, let's say, -15, and now in the hues I'm gonna pull it more towards a tealish blue. I'm gonna go with a before and after. That's much better. And now I'm gonna create a bit more depth here, and since I have left lots of room down here, I'm gonna use it to lower the exposure and to create an effect which imitates that the road is living on top of a hill. So I'm gonna go into the masks here, and I want to use a radial gradient. I'm gonna zoom out, and then I'm gonna just pull a radial gradient here and invert it. And since I only want a U shape here, that means I'm gonna play with the radial gradient. Okay, I think that looks good here. And now I'm just gonna pull down the exposure. I'm gonna go full ham and then dial it back again and play with the radial gradient. And most of the times I'm looking in my navigator because there's no mask and everything, nothing distracting, so I can see the image. If I'm playing around, that's too much. I'm gonna leave it, yeah, I'm gonna leave it here, okay? We can always come back, And now I'm gonna go and add a brush because I want to show you a technique, a really simple one to especially bring out a bit of a hazy look, a foggy atmosphere in winter scenes where there's lots of snow patches and highlights, which always looks so dope because when I imagine winter, I imagine it with a cloudy sky, with a bit of haze in the air, and that's what we're gonna create here. So I have my brush selected. The feather is all the way on 100. I'm gonna add more haze on top of the hill since the road is on top of the hill. So I'm just gonna brush here gently, especially here, here, up here. And now I'm gonna bring back the clarity and the dehaze. Let's fit the image here. Dehaze all the way, almost all the way, -82. Bring back the exposure a little bit and the contrast down to get more haze or more softer look, especially in the shadows here. We don't have that much shadows here, only the branches and the trees. That's good for now. I'm gonna leave it here. I'm always coming back. I wanna get rid of the cars here. Okay, let's zoom on, not 100, let's go on 50. There is a car here, here. So we're gonna get rid of them. An easy generative AI tool, especially in Lightroom, I'm gonna go on to the remover tool, use generative AI, and now I'm just gonna size up my brush, 2 fingertips on the Mac, on mouse just scroll wheel I think. So I'm gonna brush over this car here and over this one here. These are all the cars. Okay, I'm gonna go on fit and I'm just gonna click on remove here. And I can take a sip of my coffee and we got rid of the cars, perfect. Okay, now let's go back into the masks. At the bottom we have the radial mask for imitating the hill, the shadow sides here. We have the brush for the haze. And now I'm gonna add a object mask, a select object mask, and I'm brushing over the road here. I can leave some parts out, that's totally fine. The select object mask works wonders here. Let's see what it did. It did a really good job. It left out the trees here. Here too much road, so I'm gonna go on plus and another select object in the object mask itself. Okay, again, plus. And with the trees, I can show you a simple way to get rid of the trees here. I can just right click on this mask here, intersect it with a luminance range. And this trick is really good to get rid of darker parts or white parts in some of the black areas and vice versa. So I'm gonna create a rectangle here on the road, a really small one. Now, as you can see, already it got rid of the trees here. I can adjust the range here, a bit more feathered, because the road is still popping out of some of the branches here, which is natural, so I'm gonna leave it here. And now I'm just gonna add some contrast by pulling down the blacks here. I'm gonna up the highlights, especially for the, what is it called, markings? I don't know, the lines on the road here. Shadows up, that looks really good. And I'm gonna desaturate it a bit because lots of blues, dark blues are living here in the road, which looks kind of good, but then we can separate the road with the blue overall scene and the snow. So I'm gonna down with the saturation all the way to just see what I'm working with and then pulling it back up, and I'm going on minus, let's say -8, why not? Now I'm gonna go back into the tone curve and I'm looking at my histogram to work with that. I'm gonna up the midtones a bit. I'm gonna pull down the shadows here a bit. I'm gonna go into my basic tab, up the whites. I'm gonna go back into the hazy mask here. I'm gonna zoom out a bit, add a bit more haze here, a little bit here and here. Okay, yeah, that's really good. Now you can just play with the haze, you know. I don't want to overdo it. I think I did, but yeah, personal preference. It's your image. I mean, I have shot it, but do whatever you want with this image, okay? Enjoy the creative mind, the creative flow. And now only the masks here, before and after. This is before and this is after. I could have left them out, of course I could, but by adding a bit more depth, it adds a bit more interest and especially draws the attention more towards the road, in my opinion. I'm gonna show you how to get rid of a bit more of a purple look without having to slide the tint slider, but also have a stylized look. And that's all in the color grading tab. So let's say I'm gonna go into the basics, okay? Let's add a bit more purple to it. I can tell there's lots of purple in here, especially here in the highlights. So let's say you're bored, you don't want to use the tint slider, go into the color grading tab, and I know in the midtones and in the highlights there's lots of purple in it, so I'm gonna go into the highlights and I'm gonna counteract it with a tealish green look, and I'm gonna dial it back on saturation 7. The same with the midtones here. Opposite side, a bit more of blue. And now we could go into the shadows, which will affect the road. So we need to keep that in mind. But I'm gonna add saturation 3 in the shadows here. And now the color grading tab, this is with and this is without. You can see a bit of a purple tint now with. Boom. Well, we got rid of the purple tint. So this is a really stylized look, a way to stylize your images. So I'm gonna go with my tint slider again, which was, I don't know, -2. And now I'm gonna reset the color grading, double tap on adjust. And now I just want to affect the highlights here, which will affect the overall snow and the midtones. And the last thing is on the saturation, I'm gonna dial it back a little bit. Let's say -25. And then overall before and after, before and after. We use the removal tool, which really came in handy. We use the radial tool to have a bit of a depth effect here. And then also added a bit of haze up here. And we added a stylized look with the color grading tab before and after. We got rid of more purple, which is really, really good. I still see a car here on the upper left side, which has a bit of red in it, but it's not that distracting. So I'm gonna leave it here and I'm pretty happy with this image. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope this was a bit helpful, and if you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments. I'll get back to them ASAP. And if you want to speed up your workflow and want to have a bit of a unique color palette and style in your images, then make sure to check out the Visionary collection. Link is in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you up in the next one and stay creative.